Okay, thank you for joining me here, Kostya. I'm here with Kostya Kavutskiy, an international master and streamer. Um, First, though, let's have Kostya tell us what he sees as his role in the chess community.
Sure. I do a lot of stuff. I play tournaments, I stream chess, I give lessons, I create content. Yeah, I guess I consider myself just an overall chess professional. I do
Oh,
commentary, lots of different gigs, articles, just all kinds of stuff.
awesome, awesome. So you have a pretty extensive resume. Let's start with um, your background first because I'd love to know. We're already friends just for the anybody in the audience. I've known Kostya for over 10 years. Actually, it's probably closer to 13 now, which makes me feel old. But he he has a very interesting story about his beginnings in chess. So I definitely want to hear that, and I haven't heard everything. So can you first tell us how you first got into chess?
Yeah, I learned chess when I was a kid. I learned from my grandpa. He taught me when I was like 4.5 years old, just how to play. And I played a little bit as a kid. My brother also played. We got into tournaments when we were pretty young. I started playing my first tournaments when I was like 5, 6 years old.
Wow.
And I would say I honestly wasn't super serious about it until much later. Like I played a lot as a kid, and we definitely did a lot of like lessons and training and stuff. But to me, of course, it was always just kind of like a fun hobby. It was like something I did on the side, just compete a bit, try to win. I never really thought as a kid, right, that it would be some kind of a career or like the main thing that I end up doing.
Yeah.
I would say I got more serious about chess when I was about 15, 16,
Oh wow.
and I started, yeah, it was definitely a lot later. And at that point, I had already kind of missed the boat in terms of being like a child prodigy. I think I had the trajectory for a little bit, but I slowed down way too much. And so I think at 15, I was around like 2000 or so. So
Okay.
really like nothing special.
Yeah, in terms of
Um,
today's chess
yeah.
prodigies, where does that compare?
Well, compared to today, I mean, it's not even worth mentioning. Back then, it was also unimpressive. So it's like, you know, I mean, these days kids get to 2000 by the time that they're like 7 or 8,
Right.
which
Well,
is just
unimpressive
just
to
insane.
whom? To whom? People in the chess world, or
Yeah, people in the chess world. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
but like would your teachers and non chess players be impressed by that?
Oh yeah, yeah. People were always impressed with the chess. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
always.
Yeah. So that's an interesting distinction that I haven't made with many of my guests. Um,
hmm
uh, why do you think that is the case, where the general public is impressed with your chess ability, but the chess world itself is maybe even just more stringent?
No, I would say even the chess community, they're in general pretty much in awe of like title players and
Hmm.
stuff and how people can get to that level. So I don't think I don't get like any credit or anything anything like that for being a strong player. I just mean like, when you're in it personally, when it's for you, it's like you understand um, you know, clearly the difference between yourself and stronger players, and you
Right.
you realize like how much more room there is. So I think everyone just has this feeling that like they're you're only as good as your last chess game. And
Huh. That's
a lot of
interesting.
times you just like you understand that you're a good player and everything compared to 99.9% of chess players out there, but you're still just going to be comparing yourself to people above you, people stronger than you,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and pretty much everyone out there has chess players that make them feel like just total fish, like except Magnus. Magnus is the only one that
Yeah.
like he doesn't have to play against anyone that makes him feel like a
Right.
terrible player. But everyone else, they kind of have to deal with that.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't want to skip too far ahead yet, but I'm curious. Was your brother older than you?
Yeah, he's 2 years older.
2 years older. And did you see him playing first? Is that what got you into it?
Honestly, I don't remember. I think he probably did start before me. But yeah, my first memory of chess is just learning how to play from my grandpa. We had this like very small set, not magnetic. So the pieces were very fragile, one sneeze and everything goes flying.
That's
Just the
awesome.
really small ones, like the ones you'd get like when you buy like a 3-for-1 set at the supermarket.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
chess, checkers, and backgammon.
Right.
One of those sets.
Nice.
Um,
And
so,
so,
but yeah,
uh, so your grandfather taught you. Is chess an important thing to your family heritage?
I don't know if it's like super important. My dad played chess. He had a chess club in Ukraine, and he was I would say quite a decent club player. Um, so chess was always kind of like in the family. Obviously, my
Mm-hmm.
grandpa also knew how to play, but
Mm-hmm.
um, wouldn't say it was super important for us. My grandmas were always against the idea of me being a chess player because
Oh,
they have this sense that chess players are starving and don't really make a lot of money. And this is America. There's a lot more opportunities here.
yeah, yeah.
And I always sympathize with that perspective.
Right, right. And when did your parents immigrate to the United States?
We moved here in 1993, so I would have been 10 months old.
Oh, okay, so you were tiny. So you, for all intensive purposes, grew up, with no real. Well, did you? Well, I guess that's the question. Did you have a connection to your Ukrainian heritage through your parents, or?
Yeah, a bit. Russian was my first language,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I went to school in Los Angeles, and consider myself mostly American in terms of the culture. But yeah, I would say a lot of our family managed to immigrate over, so I definitely had some roots to home.
Right, right. Um, and so it's interesting that there's like a split in your family where your grandmother your grandmothers didn't want you to play chess and your grandfathers did. Uh,
Right. They
yeah.
still don't. Yeah, they still don't. They still want me
Oh,
to. Yeah, they still want me to go into banking or
right. Okay. Okay.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We'll get to that later because I actually have some questions related to that. Okay, so then you just basically played for fun, but were you winning tournaments when you were younger at all? Before
I
you
was
got
winning a
serious?
I was winning a decent amount. I would say I was pretty good on the Scholastic level, at least locally.
Hmm.
And then I would compete at national events. And I don't think I won any big national, like I didn't win any championships or anything. I definitely won like some national events with like a bunch of kids from like different states and stuff.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I remember being like near the top boards of like super nationals and everything. But yeah, I definitely wasn't prolific as a kid. Like I never went to World Youth, for instance.
Okay.
I didn't even know like it was a thing. I really thought like the national championships, like that was the Super Bowl, and there was like nothing. I had no idea there's like a world championship, like a World Youth.
Yeah. Do you think that's because of growing up on the West Coast? And not the West Coast has a little bit, I guess, more. I wouldn't say it's weaker, but diffuse chess culture, where just so much space and in New York everything's concentrated, Marshall Club and some of the other clubs, but Washington Square Park and things like that. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure. It's very possible. I definitely feel like I didn't have like a huge like chess culture growing up. I definitely had like a lot of like lessons and group classes, and I went to tournaments.
right.
Um, but yeah, when I would go to these national events, it was usually just my family. Like we would travel alone, but then we would go and we'd see like yeah these teams from New York and Texas just bring like huge delegations, which is like such a
Yeah.
a totally different thing, right? And I can imagine if you're in that school, then you have coaches talking about like, oh yeah, maybe one day we'll go to World Youth and all this stuff. And
Right.
but yeah, I always felt a great sense of pride when I went up against a kid from New York. almost like Bobby Fischer going up against the Russians. I just felt like I'm this lone kid from California. Like I don't really know nothing. And, I just heard about like people saying like, oh, these New York kids and their coaches. So every time I got to play one, I really tried to put in my best effort.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. That's actually a hot take. I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, national tournaments were wild back in the day. I remember like I upset some kids from New York. Like I was lower rated and I won. And I remember like their coaches just like just going crazy. Like, what's going on? How could this happen?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you just played. You said you're just playing for fun, but you were taking some lessons and doing classes. Was it
Yeah.
mostly the camaraderie? I guess, and the fun. But like, is that what pushed you forward in your abilities, or was it just pure natural talent? Do you think?
Yeah, in terms of getting better, I would say I definitely didn't work a lot on chess growing up. Like I would do puzzles, like I would review games with like a coach or something, but it wasn't like I was sitting on my own reading chess books all the time. That I started doing later when I actually felt like I got serious about it. So I feel like my
Hold
main
on. Let's
improvement
let's
came
pause
from
the
from
string. The thing is degraded.
what? Like I would.
Oh.
Oh, oh, yeah.
The connection is not great for some reason for a second there. Let's
Oh yeah, no worries.
okay. Looks stable now. How do you feel? Do you feel stable?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Okay, let's keep going from there. From darn the
I was
internet.
talking about
Yeah,
um improving.
yeah, improving, and yeah, why you improved even to the expert level. I guess let me ask this question. The expert level is still around the top 12% of players in the United States. So you definitely got to a level without much effort, it seems. Even if you only got there by age 15. Do you attribute that to natural talent?
Yeah, I would say not really. To be honest, I think just growing up as a kid, I was playing a lot.
Yeah.
I had I think some talent, of course, but I at some point, I remember I was playing like almost every weekend or every 2 weekends,
Mm-mm.
for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you play that many tournaments, and you're reviewing the games after, even if it's not like the most strict analysis, as long as you're learning something from each game, I
Right.
think over time you just kind of naturally improve. So I remember a general trajectory where I would have like maybe 3 tournaments where I gain rating, and then one tournament where I drop, and then I gain rating. And yeah, it was much easier. When I was lower rated player, I felt like a lot of the games, they just came down to like one or two tactics
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that someone had to find or didn't see, right? And as like the tactical ability naturally gets stronger, as you get older, I think you naturally improve. Um, but yeah, at a certain point, I did start working with, I guess, my first serious coach, Grandmaster Var Akobian, who kind of
Okay.
you interviewed.
Yeah. Yeah. I've spoke with him.
Um,
So what precipitated that? What precipitated you starting working with him?
yeah, so I remember we met Var at an open tournament in somewhere in Los Angeles, and I think I was maybe 11 or 12 at the time. Remember exactly, but I was about 11 or 12, maybe 17, 1800 or so.
Oh, okay.
Um,
This is before you even became an expert.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, I would say for the first like few years that I worked with them, it really like wasn't. Um, I felt like it was kind of on and off. Like I would do regular uh, lessons with him, but then at some point I stopped playing tournaments. Um, I went to I went to school early, as you may know. Like I entered college when I was 13,
Right.
and so then my tournaments definitely dropped off at that for a couple of years. So I started playing like 3, maybe 4 tournaments a year maximum, like some open tournaments. And I would still do regular lessons with him, and they were definitely very useful. Like I improved a lot, but I like just wasn't playing that much, and yeah, also just wasn't working much on my own either.
Right, right.
Um,
Let's talk a little bit about that real quick. I mean, if you're entering college at 13, you're an academic prodigy,
yeah,
certainly. So, you know, well, first, where did you go to college?
I went to Cal State Los Angeles.
Okay.
They had this program called the Early Entrance Program, where if you did well enough on a specific test and then were deemed mature enough for the program, they let you enter the university,
Wow.
and skip several years of high school, um, sometimes middle school as well. So I finished 8th grade, and then instead of going to high school, I just enrolled in Cal State, which was super fun at the time. I mean, I mainly was still interested in doing regular work. Like I wasn't interested in being a chess player.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know it was like a thing. Chess was still just like something I just played like on weekends occasionally, and I was happy when like I won tournaments, and that was it.
What year would this
Uh,
be around? Um,
I was 13, so that would have been 2005. I was
Five. Yeah.
turning
Okay.
13.
That's what I was gonna guess. Um,
Mhm.
and
Actually,
so
2006. Sorry, 2006 is when I actually enrolled in the school.
was it mostly general college courses, or were you doing like advanced math and things like that?
No, I just I was enrolling as a normal student, so I had to take like all the general education courses, and then
Okay.
after 1 year, I chose my major of business, and then yeah, so I just had like a very normal
And then
kind of
what age?
college.
What age were you when you graduated college?
I was 18.
Okay, so normal age that someone graduates high school. I
That's
mean,
right. Yeah.
the audience doesn't know this, but I know this. You're a pretty well-adjusted person, emotionally and
Thanks.
interpersonally, and
Thank
and
you.
you're just very friendly. Um, do you think going to college early did that hinder you at all, developmentally with friends or anything like that, or did you already have enough friends in the chess community that it didn't really matter?
No, not at all. It was cool. So the thing is, with the program, there was a whole class of us. So in
Oh,
my
right.
class, there was also 30 other students
Okay.
my age doing the same thing. So
Nice.
yeah, we had our own like space and environment, and yeah, a lot of my friends are from that program. So we definitely had kind of like the regular, I would say, high school experience.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, that makes
yeah,
sense. And you just matured much faster than most kids.
yeah, we were kind of forced to, right? But we were all excited about it. We felt like public school, was kind of not a waste of time, but it was just like inefficient. It's
Right.
just like it's such a drag.
Yeah.
Showing up every day. It's like the whole point is to like complete the assignments. It's just like just teaching you how to work, and not
Right.
really. And no, I mean, I feel like schools and teachers, they probably work harder than everyone else, but yeah, it's just not. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite environment.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But and then so it's interesting because you said after about a year you chose your major. So you basically chose your major, and then almost a year later or something like that, you realized at age 15 you were like, I want to be good at chess. Is that what happened?
That's exactly the timeline. Yeah. So I entered school at 13. I think I already knew like I wanted to do business. Like it just felt like a flexible major that could help me do like lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a sense of what I wanted to do professionally, just something in finance or marketing. But yeah, when I was 15, a couple things happened. So number one, um, I was either 15 or 16. Bobby Fischer passed away. I
Oh.
think I was 15. I think it was like early 2006.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you can imagine, maybe you remember, there was like all of these like obituaries and
Right.
like, people writing things up about him. And this was basically like not the first I knew who he was, but I had like no idea like his story or anything about like his ascent right to the world
Wow.
championship or anything like that.
That's
Um,
surprising, actually.
yeah, no, really not much chess culture growing up. Like I remember when I was younger, I heard some stories. Actually, one funny one was uh remember we were listening to this lecture from a teacher, and he was mentioning how Fischer went 6-0 against Taimanov and then
Uh-huh.
6-0 against Larson to qualify for the world championship.
Right.
And he was like, imagine how strong these players are, like Taimanov and Larson, right? And they lost 6-0 to Fischer. And we were all just joking, like, well, anyone can lose 6-0 to Fischer. That doesn't make him a good player. So
That's
we didn't
funny.
really get it
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, like I knew that he was like a world champion and super strong, but I learned about him when I was a kid, and I had no idea like all the details of his story,
Right, right.
just like how much of an underdog he was, how much he worked on his own, and then how he later had like huge mental problems. Like I didn't know any of this.
Right.
So that was super interesting for me to start reading about, and that was like really inspirational. Like I just got fascinated. Like I didn't realize chess had this super rich history. So I started reading like my great predecessors, and like I got like, my 60 memorable games, and then yeah, I really got into it. I realized actually there's
Wait, those are actual books, right? Like physical books.
mhm, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Because kids
started
these days
reading.
might not know what those are, so I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, I see. It could be on Chessable. um, so yeah, I started reading, and then I realized that actually there could be well, I didn't actually think about a career in chess just yet, but I just felt like I just got super motivated to actually try and improve.
Hmm.
Um, because I realized that like yeah, there's such a rich history and culture to chess, and yeah, I just got inspired by reading about all these players. Um, but then honestly, the real thing that turned me on to chess was later when I was 16, I interned at a bank for like a summer,
Okay.
you know, and it was just like such a drag. It was just like school all over again, but worse, just showing up to the same place, the same time every day with a uniform, like a dress code. I felt ridiculous. Like it's like hot and I have to wear like a suit or like business. It's like summer in Los Angeles. You have
Right.
to go outside to get lunch and everyone's wearing just like these insane like suits, and yeah, the whole thing was like so formal. So yeah, once I realized that like this could be my next 40, 50 years, I was like, I started looking around for other options. So I got into chess,
Oh, that's
I got
interesting.
into, yeah, I got into comedy. I thought about doing comedy for a while. I thought that
Oh,
would be
wow.
a cool profession. But yeah, anything other than working a normal job.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. Now that you've become a streamer as well, so
Yeah.
quite a lot of that overlaps. Um.
Hmm.
Uh. Okay, and so then I think I read that you became an FM around 2010. Is that
Right.
right?
I think so.
Um.
Yeah.
What did that feel like to achieve your first international title?
Honestly, FM, I don't feel like it was a huge deal for me because I've always felt that that's just a title that was invented to collect fees,
Ah, I
because you
see.
have to pay like $75 for it or something. Um, which, okay, I don't mind, but yeah, I never felt
Wait, can
like
I just tell them I want the FM title and just pay them money? Will they
what's
give it
that?
to
Sorry.
me? Will they give me the FM title if I just pay them money?
You can get an arena FM title for like nothing, basically.
Yeah, I could probably
So,
get an Arena GM title. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
no, I'm
fine.
sure you could. Yeah, yeah. So you just want a title. Um, no, I mean it was a cool achievement, like 2,300 FIDE.
Yeah.
That's definitely no joke. And I was stuck at 2,200 for a while. Like I was kind of plateaued at that
Hmm.
point, so it definitely felt nice to break through. But I think pretty early on, like I just wanted to be a grandmaster. So FM, IM, like these were. I essentially looked at them as like stepping stones, like
Yeah.
really good goals to achieve, but it's not even like, oh, the final thing.
Right. Right. That makes sense. And then I know you started working with Metropolitan Chess, a organization in Los Angeles. When did you start working with them? And give us a little background on helping form that group.
Yeah, so the Metropolitan Chess Club was basically started by our friend Ankit Gupta,
A
and
national
I
master,
started
right?
working with. Yeah, that's right, that's right. And I started working with him many years ago. I don't remember the exact year, but we basically met at a tournament. Like we
Hmm.
played a tournament game against each other, and we analyzed it a bit. We became friends. Um, and yeah, he decided he wanted to start running like regular tournaments in Los Angeles, especially like normal events, because there was really very few happening in the city.
Yeah.
Um, and I joined pretty early on to help with like running these events, getting players, and eventually running like bigger tournaments, even like some camps as well,
Right.
with some pretty big names. And we had Vishen on for a camp, we had
Yeah.
Aronian and
So.
Wesley So.
Yeah.
So it was yeah, we got some huge names at some point. So yeah, that was definitely my first kind of venture into like chess organization and stuff. Definitely learned a lot about like running tournaments um and camps and things in general.
Right. Right. And and did did doing the organizational stuff, did that help or take away from your actual study?
I would say yeah, that stuff always kind of runs counter.
Right.
I think I'm sure everyone is different, but for me, I always have a conflict where I feel like I can only truly improve at chess if it's like my main focus.
Hmm.
And if something else is my main focus, then it's very hard for me to actually keep improving.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you can accomplish stuff, but it's really like when you wake up in the morning, it's like what's the first thing you think about? Do you think about the chess training that you're gonna do, or do you think about all the work that you have to do?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, yeah, when I'm doing more organizational stuff, then I'm more in work mode, and then it's really hard to like go deeper and get stronger as a chess player. So that's always been the struggle. On the other hand, I trained with Ankit for a while. Like we were very motivated to work on our chess. I mean, that's why we started running these norm events because we wanted to play in them and get better.
Right.
So certainly by doing the tournaments and having something to play in, I mean, that was very motivational, and I definitely started working on my chess um a lot as I started playing a lot of these norm events. I was like 2300.
Right.
I started working with an international master, Janibek Amanov, who um, he was started to play these events, so we started to train together, and that was I felt super helpful for my chess too.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very proud that he drew Shabalov in the Accelerated Dragon. I don't know if you knew that. Anyway,
That's funny.
uh, um, so yeah, so you started working with Johnny Beck. He was an IM. Um, did your rating start to go up at that time at all?
I think eventually it did. Certainly my strength improved as I
Yeah.
got to spar with him a lot, and we did a lot of like books together and stuff.
Right.
I mean, of course, chess improvement takes forever, but yeah, I would say I gained a solid like 50, 75 points just from working with him.
Right. And then, then eventually you left Los Angeles and went for a master's in business. When was that?
Yeah, so I joined Lindenwood University in St. Louis. Trying to remember the exact year. I was turning 21. So I think it was 2012
Okay.
that I started. No, excuse me, 2013. And so, yeah, I went to Lindenwood University under or for their graduate school to get a business degree or MBA. They had a pretty flexible program where they would offer a lot of scholarships if you played some kind of sport, and they had a chess team. So that was kind of my way in.
Oh, nice, nice.
Um, and yeah, no, that was definitely a awesome experience. I was 20. I grew up in Los Angeles. I definitely wanted to kind of live somewhere else just to see the world a bit. And I think actually VAR was the one that recruited me or gotten me an invite to the team because he was working with St. Louis and they were looking for more players.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, that was really cool. Like as a part of the Lindenwood chess team, we had a kind of like an agreement or a collaboration with the St. Louis Chess Club, and our coaching actually came directly from the club. Like whoever was their GM in residence at the time would also come and work with us. So we got, VAR was there. We got to work with VAR, which was cool. Also got to work with Yasser for some time, which
Oh,
was awesome.
Yasser Serouan,
Um, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
legendary American GM.
I mean, that was amazing. I enjoyed all the sessions we had. We would just analyze games, and I mean, Yasser, he's so strong. Like his hand, it just makes the right move. You don't even understand how. It's just like he just knows, right? I mean, it's
That's
just
amazing.
different level, yeah,
Yeah.
of knowledge and intuition. Um, Grandmaster Ronan Harsvey as well. We spent a lot of time working with him, which I really enjoyed. People might know him from the ICC, doing a lot of videos, but
Right.
yeah, he was always a fantastic coach. So that was cool. I got to be on like a chess team. Started doing a little bit more chess. I don't know if I really like improved a ton during that period, but I played a lot and I got a lot of experience. So definitely I did.
Right.
Feel like
Right.
experience certainly counts for quite a bit.
Right. Right. Experience and rating growth are not always linear.
Oh no, not at all. Usually
Right.
not.
Not at all linear.
Yeah, usually not linear. Usually people are I would say plateauing for a while,
Yeah.
and then at some point it kind of like kicks in and then you shoot up. I think that's a lot. That's
Right.
very common.
Right. Then you have the good events, basically.
Yeah.
You have mediocre
Yeah, yeah.
events or bad events, and then maybe one good event, and then some mediocre events and some bad events. Um, did did you did you experience any frustration in the inability to gain the title? Actually, I think this goes along with some questions that I had. Uh, I read in your and listened a little bit in your interview with Ben Johnson from the Perpetual Chess podcast that you missed a few norm chances from like 2013 to 2016. I think one at the Spice Cup where they didn't have enough players. How did that make you feel to miss, or not enough foreign players? I mean, how did that make you
Right.
feel to miss norm chances like that?
Yeah, it's like kind of bit of like sweet and sour.
Mm.
Like on one hand, it's always a shame when you don't get a norm because of a technicality. Like in the Spice Cup tournament, what happened was I had like performed at the 2450 level, so it was good enough for the IM norm.
Right.
But I didn't play enough foreign players. And um, back then they had this rule, or they still have this rule for something they call super Swisses, where if a tournament has 20 international players, then the tournament itself is just considered international, and it kind of waives the foreign player requirement for everyone. So even if you end up
Oh,
playing like 8 Americans, it still can still count as a norm.
wow.
That was kind of the idea behind tournaments like Spice Cup, and nowadays you have like 1000 GM is running super Swisses and things like that, and that's kind of the whole point. It's like you have a strong tournament and there's no foreign player requirement. Um, but FIDE had like changed the rule like very close to that tournament where it's like you needed 20 foreign players playing every round, which was a reasonable change because what would happen was you would get like a bunch of foreign players to sign up for the event, but then a bunch of them would withdraw. And you might get events where like, okay, they only play like 1 or 2 rounds. And so they're only there kind of for show, right? It's not like
Oh,
they
so you didn't
really,
even know. You didn't even know when you were playing whether they even have the right number.
yeah. And I think like one of the rounds had like 19 players playing or something, right? Instead of 20 or 18. And that was essentially the reason why it didn't count. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's kind of a bummer, right? It feels like such
Yeah.
a technicality.
Right.
Um, on the other hand, it gave me this confidence, right, that I could do it. Because that would have been my first norm. I would still need two more anyway. So it's not like, oh, that would have just been the title and whatever, I can post from there. But I would still have to work hard to get the other two norms. So that gave me kind of like, this permission that I could now fight for norms. And I think psychologically made it a lot easier from that. Because then it's like, okay, you believe you can actually do it.
Right.
Right. Before it's like you're not even sure it's possible. But now that you've done it, now it's like, okay, well now I can do it.
Right, right. That makes sense. Um, okay, and then I think we're at the natural point to where you get those norms. How did it happen?
Yeah.
And
So right. Ended up I ended up getting the first norm, I think maybe a year later.
okay,
So it's definitely some time. Like I was hoping it would have been it would have been faster, but it's tough. And I kept working on my chess. I would say actually the next time I really got stuck was when I had two norms. So I
right,
got I got one norm in I ended up getting it in St. Louis, and then I got another norm at the North American Open in Vegas. Um, and then got stuck for a while trying to get the third norm because I was very close. In fact, I crossed 2400 FIDE
which
at
is
this
one
one
of the
tournament in Germany.
requirements, right,
Yeah,
of the IM title.
exactly. And yeah, sometimes it can even be the harder requirement. Like
Mm,
a lot of players, they get the norms, but then they don't get the rating,
right, right.
which can be tough. Um, but yeah, I actually crossed the rating threshold in the middle of a tournament, the Gibraltar Open,
Oh wow.
which was a super strong event. Yeah, I was having a good tournament, and I just needed to make a draw in round 9 of 10 to get the norm and the title. And I remember I was playing against Tan Zhongyi, who now is a GM. Back then, she was
Yeah.
like 2500 WGM, but
Right,
still
right.
2500.
Yeah, she's one of the
And I
top
remember
rated
that
women in
game.
the world.
Yeah, yeah, literally a contender now for
Yeah.
the world championship.
Right.
Um, and yeah, that was a tough game because I was actually like I was doing quite well out of the opening. It was a King's Indian, um, and I felt like I was very comfortable, and it was like me playing for two results. But because I like just wanted to draw, like I didn't play like normal chess, right? I was like just trying to make a draw, and then I ended up losing a slightly better endgame. And then I had to like I think win the next game to get the norm. But of course I didn't manage. I ended up losing the next game as well. But next game I played another GM.
Right.
So it was tough.
Tough
Um
tournament.
and
Wow.
yeah, so I was very very close. But ended up missing out. I think I missed out on one or two other chances later as well. Like I needed a draw in some game, but I couldn't manage and ended up losing to GM or something. Um, and so yeah, that was definitely like tough, but overall I felt like I would get it at some point. And also I still had the GM goal in mind this whole time, so it's like I still kept thinking like, all right, even if I get the third norm, that's not over from there. I'm still gonna want
Right.
to get to GM. So at a certain point, I just started thinking about like, all right, well, how do I improve to get to the GM level? And I wasn't really um, concerned a ton with like getting the final norm. And then I ended up getting it, like later that year in St. Louis, I got the third one. In fact, I was super lucky to get it. Like I had no business winning this final game. I was like much worse, losing, and then the game got like super sharp. I even offered a draw at some point because I'd given up on my winning chances, and yeah, my opponent ended up like flagging in a pretty unclear position um, to give me the win. So definitely a bit of fortune to
That's
actually get the
that's pretty
title in
ridiculous,
the end.
actually. You can play as you play your very very best, and then just barely miss it by half point, and then the game can be just a complete mess, and then you get it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
is that
So
is that an
it's a
element
little random.
of luck in chess?
Um, I would say there is like luck in individual games
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that it's totally random. In general, players that are like a little bit more tactical, resourceful, resilient,
Right.
somehow they're gonna get luckier. Somehow, right? Like that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's just experience in playing those kind of messy positions, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. There are definitely certain skills when it comes to playing in really um wild position or like worse positions, losing positions where you have to try and complicate the situation.
Right. Okay. So then you get the IM title. What year was that?
So that was 2016.
2016.
towards the end. Yeah.
Okay, so we're still a few years away from you becoming a streamer, which I want to get to
Right.
next. So you were still trying to get the GM title after you got the IM norm, your final IM norm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Once I got the IM title, I'm like, all right, what's next?
Right.
Yeah, go for GM title. And um, yeah, I worked on my chess. I started doing more like chess teaching.
Right.
After graduating from Lindenwood, I moved back to Los Angeles, and then I moved up to the Bay Area, and started. So actually, this already preceded me becoming an IM, was moving to Northern California and starting to work a lot up there.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but
So
yeah, I
this
kept
puts you in our third
working on my
category
chess.
of in the United States of chess. You're in the chess player. You're in the coach category first, and then streamer category.
Hmm.
So yeah, let's
Oh
talk a
yeah,
little bit
definitely
about
coaching for several years. Hmm.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. What age groups did you coach?
Oh, pretty much everyone. I did a lot of group classes, school classes. I would teach kids one-on-one, and then I would also teach adults as well, especially in more recent years. So yeah, at a certain point, I would definitely consider myself like a full-time chess teacher, like doing multiple classes a day,
Right.
usually like in the afternoons, and then trying to work on my chess in the morning. Um,
Well, that sounds tough. Was that tough at all,
no,
or did you find it just fun?
no, it was fine. I mean, I like teaching.
Right.
I thought, I mean, it's definitely my goal was always, to be able to make an income from chess, and teaching was definitely a great way to do that.
Or else you'd have to
Um,
become a banker.
yeah, I mean, what's the alternative? I mean, like,
Play a game or become a banker.
yeah, so like, I guess teaching like school classes definitely wasn't like my favorite thing because it's not really like chess teaching. It's more about like classroom management and stuff.
Right. Right.
Um, but I learned to have fun with it, and once I got better at it, I definitely enjoyed it more. Um,
Would
and
you say that those big classes are more about inspiring kids to play,
yeah, definitely. I think
teaching
when,
fundamentals and then inspiring them?
yeah, when you're teaching like after school classes, yeah, most of the kids are either going to be just complete beginners or very very close to it.
Hmm.
And so it's really, yeah, they're not ready to take it seriously or anything like that, and so you really have to keep it like super light and fun. And really, the idea is to just try to spark an interest so that the kids that do get really into it, then they know that like, okay, there's more to it. They can start going to like more serious classes. They can go to tournaments. They can definitely pursue it as like a fun and cool idea. Um, but yeah, I also started like teaching one-on-one. I did a lot of work with Bay Area Chess that has a pretty huge organization. Did some like uh, club classes and camps for them. So yeah, I would say teaching was definitely kind of my main thing, but it really was mainly, meant to kind of fund my like tournament travels and stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
I also got to coach the world cadet
Oh
teams a
wow,
couple times.
well, that's exciting.
Yeah, so that I really enjoyed because that's like, really super serious players, and that environment I really love because with the US you travel with like a couple of other coaches, um and you have this like whole delegation. It's the thing I missed when I was growing
Right.
up,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never got to experience it as a kid, but I got to experience it as a coach, which
That's
I
exciting.
really enjoyed. And yeah, it was great. So I coached at a Pan American youth championship, and then I coached twice at a world cadet, once in Spain and once in China.
Did any
So
of your
Spain
students
20.
did any of your
Mhm.
students win the top prizes? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean no, I did. The way it works, just to be clear, it's like uh, I was working as a coach with like all the official students,
Right.
and they all have like their own coaches back home.
Right. Of
So
course.
I'm just kind of like their assigned coach on site. So I did get a couple medals. I got one kid to a gold medal.
Wow. Awesome.
This kid Raj, yeah, in the under 8 world
Nice.
cadet, yeah, in Spain. But honestly, I mean, he probably would have gotten first with nobody as his coach. You know, I just feel like he entered the event. His main coach was Grandmaster Mezgin Amanov,
Okay.
who's really skilled with coaching kids. In fact, he even like he taught, and then he also taught the previous under 8 gold medalist as well. So he
Wow.
had like back to back kids winning it.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and now this kid, Andy Woodward, they super strong. I believe he was also one of Mezgin's kids too. I remember seeing
Yes.
him at the World Cadet also.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so my job was honestly just to like not mess it up for them. Like I would get a little bit of time with each kid. I had about 6 students for the tournament of different levels, and we would get the pairings the night before. I would look up their opponents. I would maybe communicate with them or their parents a little bit, like what I think they should prep. But a lot of times they had their own opening repertoire. They're already going to
Right.
prep with their coach, and then they come to me and like we review the prep. We maybe do like some analysis, some training games. I felt like my role was to really just get them ready to play.
So I
Of
have to
course,
say that
especially like
there's something that I know that the audience doesn't know. I know that you are particularly skilled in helping people prep. I know this because you've helped me prep multiple games to a winning advantage 20 moves into the game.
true,
So
true.
so maybe you can go a little bit more in depth on what it's like to prep people for games like that. Prep students basically.
Yeah, so it really depends on the student. Like, so with some students, definitely not all of them, but they would have their own coach and they would already come with their own prep. For instance, I worked with Christopher Yu
Yeah.
in China for the World Under 12, and he was already an IM, so he was already super serious player. He's like doing his own analysis, so he would just come to me and he's like, "This is what I want to play today," and then we would kind of review it. I would give him my like human take on the and that could be very useful. For instance, like when you have your prep, you have no idea how your opponent is going to respond, so you kind of need to test your ideas against the human that can
Right.
maybe show you like, okay, this looks natural. If I don't know the position, this is what I would play, and then we can kind of analyze some interesting lines. And a lot of times we would kind of nail it in our prep. We would go down some like possible continuation and then see some tactic or find some interesting idea that wasn't obvious, and then that would kind of show up in their games and they would be able to use it. For other students that didn't have like their own coach, I would actually go and prep them a lot more. Like I would look up their opponent, see what openings their opponent is playing, and then review the repertoire with them and then try to help them um, really hone down on what to do. I mean, you don't have a lot of time, so it's not like the kids are just going to learn like an entire variation. And it's not about prepping like trappy lines or anything. It's really more about like, this is the kind of position you're going to get. You need to make sure you're playing for this plan. You need to make sure you're watching out for this idea. There's a lot of like open Sicilians,
Right.
in the tournament. So
Right.
I definitely have
Which you
to,
wrote a book on,
show
right?
them like, yeah, yeah. So I felt very,
This is the
very
fourth
much like
category.
I
You're in
could.
the author category too.
True, true. Also, yeah. I told you, I do everything.
That's excellent. Excellent. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I just love chess.
yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, let's move on from coaching. I mean, we could talk about it for a long time, but I don't want this interview to go too much longer than an hour. So let's move on to when you started streaming.
Hmm.
Um, um, Take us back to the beginning of the pandemic and how you helped form Chess Dojo.
Right. So yeah, the timing of that was super interesting. Um, Basically, I started streaming a little bit more in like 2019
Mm,
when it kind of started to get more popular.
right.
And I was doing a lot of just coaching, basically just like a freelancer, right? So I felt like I could also maybe stream a bit. Um, and
And you were
yeah,
using your
so
comedy skills?
not really, honestly.
That's a joke. It's just a silly joke. You keep going. Keep going. Keep
Okay,
going.
that's hilarious. Um, so somewhere towards the end of 2019, I got this idea mainly because I was just so done with the chess subreddit, as being like the main place that people go to for like chess advice.
Uh-huh.
Because back then, because I was like a coach and I'm like also maybe like starting to make some YouTube videos as well, making some courses. And yeah, I was just really dissatisfied with the state of chess discourse. Because like if you were a new player and like you're getting into chess, you go to the chess subreddit, like why not? That makes sense. And you're like, hey, what should I do? And you're gonna get this like all this terrible advice. Um, you know, and my other issue with it was also that it was just like so inefficient, right? Because it was just like just people, it's just a different like new player coming in every day asking the same questions like over and over again, getting the same like bad answers like over and over again. And it just felt like very disorganized. And then there's also chess Twitter, and chess Twitter is not super organized either. So really like I just wanted a place, and I had just learned about Discord. I feel like I was actually late to Discord.
Uh-huh.
Discord had already been around for a while, but I
Yeah, a
just
lot.
like learned
It's
about.
in case anybody doesn't know, it's a gaming communication platform. You join a group, and the group, you can have voice channels and text channels, and you can talk about different things, and you can
Yeah,
divide it up in any way you want.
I would say it's just like a community app. Like a lot of gaming communities use
Yeah.
it, but literally any community can use a Discord server, and I just felt like the app is like super cool, but I also felt like it was kind of underutilized because at the time, like pretty much most Discord servers were like connected to like a Twitch stream. So you'd
Right.
have like Chessbra, for example, and then you have their Discord server, which is mainly like kind of an extension of their stream. But I felt like there should just be like a public Discord server that's just not affiliated with any streamers. It's just for people that are interested in chess improvement. They can just come there and talk chess, find training partners. I just felt like it was such a easier, better platform for this than Reddit.
Right. Right.
Um, so that's kind of how Chess Dojo got started. Originally, it was just a Discord server.
Okay.
So there was no Twitch channel. There was no YouTube channel.
Oh wow.
I literally, yeah, I just wanted to like create a public space for people to come and be able um, to to discuss chess. And with Discord, the cool thing is like you can have roles, so you can see like who's a title player, who's like a high rated player, who's a lower rated player, right? And then you can even pick and choose like who you take your advice from, right? So it's not about which advice just kind of sounds the best. You can actually see like who actually has expertise and authority based on like what rating or title that they've achieved. Um, and okay, so that was like December 2019. And then 1 or 2 months later, I kind of started streaming under Chess Dojo, and like I started a Twitch channel as an extension of the Discord. So the Discord was still kind of like the main thing, and
Okay.
then I was just streaming like some lessons because I did like some group classes in Discord, like coaching
Wait. So
some folks in
how
there.
many people did you get to join the Discord independent of a channel?
There was not a ton. I think it was maybe 50 to 100 at first. I should say at first the Discord is actually, it was like my personal Discord. Like I had a channel, and like like everyone else, I just had like a Discord server
Inviting your
just
friends,
because.
yeah, and
Yeah,
students.
actually, I'm pretty sure I got the idea. Not like, I'm pretty sure I learned about it from Eric Rosen. I think like he had
Okay.
a Discord server,
Okay.
and then I was like, "Why do you have one?" And he was like, "I don't know, it's good for a community or whatever." And I was like, "All right, I guess I'll do it as well." Um, but then I was like, "This is just pointless," because it's just like, I had some people in there that are like my fans or whatever, but it's like, well, I don't know, I don't need a place for my fans to like talk to each other. Like I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me. I was like, this would be much better if it was just public and actually just like had like nothing to do with me. Um, so okay, fast forward a couple months later, I was streaming for a bit. David Pruis reached out to me. He's an international master. He was also streaming. I've known David for many years. We go way back. We were friends. We worked together at chess.com. Um, and he was also doing a bit of streaming at the time. And he had this idea that it would make sense to kind of team up because streaming was very competitive. There are all these streamers out there. Everyone's streaming chess. Basically, everyone was doing it. And it made sense to team up and try to cover a lot of hours as like a group.
Right.
And I'd always wanted people to join Dojo. Like I didn't want it to just be my stream, if that made sense. Like I
Yeah.
wanted this to be like this kind of big thing. So I was always very interested in the idea of like getting title players to kind of join it and run it with me. And so we thought about inviting another person. We thought of Jesse, Grandmaster Jesse Cry,
Yeah.
who was also just starting to stream at the time. He was doing his own show, like Road Back to 2500.
How did you
And
know? How did you know him?
He and David go way back. In
Okay.
fact, they used to live together in Berkeley at the famous chess house with
Oh,
a bunch of other GMs and IMs.
that's a note for later. Famous chess house. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would definitely, yeah, ask for some stories about that. Um, so yeah, so they were a lot closer. I knew Jesse a bit just from like maybe working with him occasionally or playing against him. Um, and yeah, he was interested. He decided to join as well. And so we kind of formed, I felt like it was like a super group, because we'd all been like coaches and like creators for several years now.
Right. Right.
Like they've been doing lessons, for chess.com for many years. I had done it as well. And so, yeah, we also felt like we all had kind of a similar philosophy when it came to chess teaching and improvement and what it takes. So we felt like it was a very natural um, mix. And yeah, so the three of us, we kind of made Chess Dojo like what it is today.
Right.
Because basically it was very like, it was basically nothing when we kind of had that conversation and decided, it's just a very small Discord server and nothing really happening. But once we decided to like team up, that's when things really took off. Now the funny thing is that our plan was to start in June 2020. Because David was teaching like in a regular school. That was when the school year would finish. And then we would kind of start that summer. And like March 2020, of course, the pandemic hits, everyone gets sent home.
Right.
And we realized like, oh, I guess we should start right now because it's like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Everyone's literally working from home. And that the pandemic is really what caused the shift for me to stop teaching and do a lot more streaming.
Right. Right. Um, I have to ask, what is your
Correct.
philosophy of teaching that you guys could all come together around? That's a big question.
Yeah. No, I would say there's a couple of things. I think the main tenet is that chess improvement is very hard, and it's actually the hardest work that gets you the most progress.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we strongly believe that like chess improvement should feel difficult, and not that it shouldn't be like fun or you shouldn't get enjoyment out of it, but it's like, yeah, it's only through the hard stuff that you can actually make real gains. And so when we say hard stuff, it's like things like playing a classical game, solving like difficult tactical exercises, like not simple puzzle rush, but like hard calculation stuff where you're really pushing to like visualize as much as you can,
Right.
sparring, like playing against someone, basically things that after you're done with it, you legitimately feel tired. Maybe your head even hurts a little bit just because of how hard you were pushing yourself. So
Okay.
we have
Okay.
this concept of sweat work. And we're like, yeah, sweat work is actually the important thing. And watching videos, playing blitz, this stuff, it's like it's fun, but we don't, yeah, we feel like it's not the main driver of improvement.
Is it similar to physical improvement, like in physical exercise? Do you have to
Yeah,
put in the
absolutely.
same types of hours and dedication?
I've always felt there's a ton of parallels between, yeah, chess and fitness. A lot of parallels. I mean, like just the simple ones, it gets harder as you improve, right? You have to work harder as you get stronger in order to continue gaining. Consistency is much more valuable than like one day of like crazy effort,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to do anything one day at the gym, right? It's over only months and years, so you actually can see real results. And then in terms of like the marketing, it's like there's just so much consumer confusion in both spaces as well in the
Right.
chess and fitness world, right? There's like all these different solutions, all these different courses and apps, but we've known how to get better at chess for many years. You play games, you analyze them, you solve puzzles, you read books. Like it's very simple. It's just like those four things. And we've also known how to like work out and get fit. Like you have to eat well, you have to exercise, you have to sleep. Like it's like very simple stuff, right?
Right.
But
Right.
but but there's like all the there's all these
For
different
me, there's a
methods
personal
and
trainer involved, but
oh no, true. I mean, like coaches and trainers, they I think they also have a lot of parallels where they're very valuable and they can make things a lot easier. they obviously can't do all the work for you,
Right.
right? They're just there to really push you and motivate you.
Right. Okay, so we're almost at the hour mark, but I want to
Um,
ask you, can we go 10 more minutes? Are you good for that?
yeah, whatever you want. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
absolutely.
Perfect, because I really want to dig into the life of a streamer.
Sure.
I mean, you're a streamer and an educator at the same time, I think, but I think a lot of streamers are educators as well. They're not purely entertainers unless you're just talking like maybe Hikaru and Botez. I think they're
Hmm.
those are more in the entertainer side. But
I learned a
um,
ton from Hikaru. I mean, just just watching
yeah,
him
yeah,
play. I mean,
true. Just from watching him play, I don't know if it's intentional on Hikaru's side, but so what's your average day like as a streamer?
um, yeah, it really depends. I do a bit of traveling, going to tournaments and
Yeah,
stuff. Let's
yeah,
say if I'm at home, um, and it kind of depends on like what projects I'm working on. Like I might be working on a course, or like some video or something. Basically, it's like I have a very inconsistent schedule. But it's a very enjoyable lifestyle because I really appreciate the freedom to kind of
right.
be able to do um, whatever I want. I would say that it has kind of simmered down as of late. Like I'll get up pretty early, and then first couple hours um, either I'll do like some chess in the morning, like read a bit of a chess book, or I'll do some dojo work. There's a lot of work that goes into managing the dojo.
Right.
So I'm definitely spending a lot of time on things like, reviewing clips that are going to go out or like reviewing videos, um, thinking about like what we're going to do with the Discord, with the Twitch channel, with the Twitter, the Instagram. We got a TikTok. There's a lot of like platforms that we're kind of
Uh
like
huh. Uh
managing
huh.
our content on, that require uh, a lot of work. And of course, now we have this big dojo training program, which is basically our site that we run with like a universal training program. We got a ton of students, and yeah, we're constantly like trying to either make more content for the site or make the plan a bit better, or fix tech stuff. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of, I would say, many different hats.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm an entrepreneur where I'm just like doing a little bit of everything all the time. Moderation, solving fights in the Discord, getting people to calm down, be nice to each other. Um, and then yeah, at a certain point, I'll try to do like a stream, like a 2 3 hour. And then the stream, really depend on what's going on in like my chess life. So if I have like just played a tournament, then I'll have games to analyze. I'll be like reviewing those games. Other times I might be doing a lot more like blitz and rapid because I'm trying to like improve my speed chess. Um, and and yeah, so we try to do a variety of different like shows and content. We look at viewer games, and try to like analyze student games, giving them tips to improve. We'll do puzzles occasionally, and different types of chess shows. We've got a podcast, Dojo Talks,
Right.
that we try to
Right.
do regularly, where we'll discuss like latest chess news and our thoughts on chess improvement and things like that. So yeah, I feel like I'm just doing some of everything all the time.
And that's what you enjoy doing.
I mean, I really appreciate the lifestyle. I like that it's kind of up to me. I definitely
Right.
don't like every single aspect of the work.
Right.
Um, but
But you're
I
basically.
have no one to
Oh yeah.
blame.
Yeah. Oh, you have no one to blame. Well, you're basically
you know,
working as a small business owner, and like you said, as an entrepreneur. Um, do you see it as a small business?
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Um, like we have finances, and
Right.
now we've got people we pay. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah. How
yeah.
many people are employed by the Chess Dojo,
We've got a few. We've got a few that are helping us like
or
with video
contract?
editing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like we got like a couple of video editors. We got a social media person. We got like a clips editor. Um, we've got a website architect that's basically in charge of all the tech stuff.
Hmm.
So we have a handful of people, a lot of very nice people in the community. I got to say, it's one of the great things about running a stream is that like, or a channel, or community, whatever. People get really invested and they're always willing to help out. So we get lots of like volunteer help. And people are always like, giving suggestions and trying to support and that's very cool. I think that's just fantastic.
Yeah, and then let's talk about well, for one, actually, I wanted to ask you. So you realize you're a job creator as well, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. In a way.
It's like become this business where you're actually creating jobs. Um, so without giving any numbers on the profit side, and income side, where does most of your the income come from Chess Dojo? Is it from students? Is it from Twitch streaming? Is it from YouTube? What's the
Yeah.
what's the pie look like?
We make a pretty huge chunk of our income, like a serious majority off of the training program,
Okay.
which is like our own thing. So basically, like our students, they pay like a subscription, and they get access to the plan. They get access to the community. We've got a separate Discord for them that they use to kind of like set up training games and sparring and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, I would say that's kind of most of our income. We honestly make very little from Twitch and YouTube. But to be fair, we're also like pretty small. I mean, we're really not the size of, the major streamers out there.
Right. Right.
So it's not too surprising that
Like in comparison,
most of our
like
earnings.
where are you in comparison to say Hikaru and Botez?
I don't know how many followers they have exactly, but on Twitch we have about like 27 and a half thousand.
Okay. Okay.
And
that
I
makes
think
sense.
Hikaru and I mean they're probably well over a million,
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
so
even
we're working on it. We're working
yeah, even on Twitch though, like Eric Rosen's only at like 250,000, which is still incredible amount of people, but
So yeah,
compared,
yeah, that's like 10x our size.
right, and then Hikaru is like 4 or 5x that. That makes sense. So it's interesting that you're not making much from the streaming side, but the streaming side is where you're getting a lot of your clients, right?
Yeah, I would say right. It's super important to kind of get people to consider joining the training program. Um, I mean, we started the program like 2 years in. Like we'd already been streaming and making videos for about 2 years, and of course we were just getting flooded with requests for like students and coaching and stuff. So we realized like we just need to make like a universal thing that everyone can join and
Right.
kind of follows like the core philosophies of our program and all this stuff. And so yeah, now the Twitch kind of like funnels people into that are like more serious about their improvement. But we still try to do content that's kind of relevant for everyone, for the broader audience on Twitch and YouTube.
Right, right. Um, Sorry, I had a question. I think I lost it.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we'll wrap up soon, but there was
No
one
worries.
thing here that I really wanted to ask. Um, oh yeah. On the training side, I find it very interesting that you have. I mean, how many students are in your training program? I'm just curious.
Right now we've got about 1,400.
Okay, okay, so that's incredible. And then
Yeah, road to
and
2,000.
road to 2,000. That's gonna be your rating. You'd be an expert.
That's
in
how I
training
see it.
programs.
Yeah, in terms of our business rating. Yeah, that's the
pretty
number of
good.
students we have.
That's
Yeah.
pretty fun. What's the average level of improvement that you see across your students? Is it hard to was that hard to qualify or?
A little bit, but actually no. I'll tell you. So in our first year of the program, not everyone was tracking their rating, but that was one of the big things. We do try to gamify the process. So we have everyone choose a rating system like chess.com, Lee Chess, their USCF rating, their FIDE rating, and we do have them track it if they're interested. Not everyone has to do it, just so we can see like what the improvement is like. And in the first year, we didn't have 1,400 students the whole time, so we were growing. We started like with a few hundred and then slowly went up. But in the first year, the community collectively gained 73,000 rating points.
Wow, that's
So
exciting.
yeah. So if you imagine it's like maybe something like 1,000 or 1,200, maybe something like 1,000 people tracking it or so. I forget the exact number that were like counted.
Right.
Um, and they only count one rating system, right? So if they gain points chess.com, they gain points Lead Chess, they gain points USCF, they only count one of those,
Right.
right?
Right.
But that was still a ton of points. And I think it was something like an average of 40 points um, per member
Wow,
in terms of
that's cool.
the rating game. Yeah, I think it was very decent. I mean, the thing is, people are always like, well, what is that compared to? What would be someone's improvement if they like weren't following the program? I think that's always
Mm-hmm.
a like natural question.
That's the control
Um,
point, basically. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like what would be the improvement otherwise? But I don't know. I think
Probably
for me,
nothing,
it's
at
like,
least, right?
yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure what the average gain is for the average improver. I think it's easy to say that like people that are interested in chess improvement are going to join the program, and then they're more likely to improve anyway. So it's kind of
Right.
like a selection bias. But like I for me, it's like that's fine. It's like all right, we'll get the people that are interested in improving. They'll gain rating points. Is it faster than if they were just working on their own? Like it's very hard to say. Everyone's different. But like what does it matter? Like they joined the program, they gained the points, they got this like fun community, they enjoyed the journey. Like what
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Because
what
chess is not
like
all
that's what we
about
wanted.
rating points, right? It's about the game itself and how interesting and beautiful it is, and etc.
Yeah, I mean for me I always like, I wouldn't have stuck with chess if I didn't actually enjoy playing, like analyzing, like doing chess, right? And so I think it's very important that you actually enjoy the process. Like I think that actually helps with improvement quite a bit. If you don't enjoy it, like you're not gonna stick with it. I think it's just a gripe I have with um, chess players in general because a lot of times they, um, like they hear about like some new thing or like some new idea and they're like, that's not gonna work. They just kind of shoot it down,
That's
right? But then
true.
they don't do anything. They just
Yeah.
don't do anything. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you have to do something, to try and improve, right? Like,
Okay, we've got to wrap up here soon. But I want to ask two fun questions about streaming. What's your favorite thing about streaming, and what's the worst part of streaming?
let's see. My favorite thing about streaming, tough question. I mean, it's very fun when you get like a community hive mind, when it's like you've got the stream going, people are watching, they're digging it, and everyone's just kind of like bantering on
Yeah.
the same page. And it's like, that's just like super fun.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hard to get that anywhere else. Um, my least favorite part is like when someone comes and like ruins,
Trolls.
troll. Yeah, a lot of times, people they come in, they just want to like make it about themselves, or
Right.
they just start like picking fights with people, like arguments, and it's like, why is it? And then people start responding, and then it just turns into this whole thing. And yeah, so it's like very easy for one or two people to just ruin it for everyone.
And then you ban
Yeah.
them, though, right?
Oh yeah, I'm very fast with the ban hammer. I'm just like, because people, I think it's a question of expectation. It's like, okay, it's Twitch, it's a casual environment. They're watching all these streamers, getting away with saying. Then they come to the dojo, and it's like, no, this is like a serious like chess like club,
Right.
like a serious dojo. You
Yeah.
can't
Right. That's true. That's true.
you
You can't.
can't
You can't
be
just say anything you want here.
inappropriate. No, I mean we have tons of fun, but
Yeah.
yeah, we have very low tolerance for any kind of like racism, sexism,
Yeah.
anti-Semitism, homophobia, all this stuff, which
Right.
comes up a lot in online spaces, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, though. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you guys are keeping a good community and keeping a positive community. Okay. Before we go, though, I need to know two of your top games, two of your best games ever played.
Okay, my first game that comes to mind, this game I played against as Black against FIDE Master Mark Duckworth.
Oh, okay.
It was a very cool game where I felt like tall the whole time. Like I sacrificed a piece, and then like I ended up sacrificing like a full rook just for like compensation. And it was just this very, very nice attacking game. Um, lots of cool tactics. And then so that's definitely I feel like I consider that to be my best game um
Okay, awesome.
I played.
What year was
Now you
that?
want to
So I can
that was
pull that up.
it was like 2013. I can send
Okay.
you the game.
Yeah, send me the game. That's great.
And then second game?
Or actually, no. You know what's better? Tell me your favorite game in chess history. It could be
Oh,
modern
my
or
favorite game.
historical.
Also tough. We recently did a ranking list of the best games
Oh.
of all time. Um
Oh.
so the game that I ranked like the greatest game of all time is the game of the century, Bern Fischer,
Okay.
1956. But I wouldn't say that's like my favorite game, you know.
Give me one. Give me one that somebody is not like on any major lists or anything.
Yeah. I would say my truly favorite game. I remember like going over this one in a book and just like being amazed with the annotations like from the player. Was the game Lottie Shirov
Oh, okay.
from 1991.
Yeah.
This is just incredible attacking game by Shirov where he sacrifices an exchange and then he sacrifices a second exchange. So you to double exchange sacrifice. And then he ends up um, finding another combination that it turns into like a full rook sacrifice. And it just ends with like queen and four pawns against queen and rook. And he's winning with the queen and four pawns. You know, it's just this insane, beautiful effort. I remember reading his notes in Fire on Board, I think, on the game. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is in that
just
book. That's right. That's right. That's where I saw it in Fire
there
on
you
the
go.
Board. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just to me that's just like one of the that game like just changed my understanding of chess. You
Mm.
know, that was the game that like truly cinched it for me that piece values are more like suggestions and not stone cold truths.
Right. Right.
You know,
Okay. Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate that. All right, let's wrap up the interview. Thanks for joining us, Kostya. One last question: would you ever drive across the desert to get to a U.S. Open without air conditioning ever again?
However, again,
This is
yeah,
something that
we're
we
all.
did in
I
2015.
know. I know we're all young once, and now I mean I look back at that experience very fondly. I mean it was torture, but we got through it. We played blindfold chess.
Oh
You
yeah,
just have to accept
I
the
forgot.
situation, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I forgot we played blindfold chess. It's funny. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was torture, but thanks for joining us, and good luck in your future pursuits, streaming and in the chess community.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.